All of the food we eat and much of the clothing we wear comes from plants and animals that are raised on farms. Farms are different in type, in size, and even in name.
Welcome to Barn Talk. What happens at the barn stays in the barn, but not today. We're going to let it all out for you guys. Today is going to be a Barn Talk Q&A episode. You guys submitted your questions and emailed us at barntalkshow@gmail.com. And with those questions, and now we're going to answer them on the show. If you have a question for us, please email us at barntalkshow@gmail.com. That's where we get them. And the questions have kind of slowed down lately. So send us some fucking question, guys. You know, we gotta keep this format rolling. So we need more questions, whether it's politics, whether it's economy, economics, whether it's farming, agriculture, business. What is our favorite barbecue cut? It doesn't matter. We'll answer it all. Is Torque a circus midget? We'll fucking answer every single question that you got. We'll answer it. So submit them and email us, please. If you get any value from the show, if you laughed, if you learned something, if you're related to us on something, all that we ask in return is that you just share the show with people that you know. The more that you guys do that, the more the show grows, the better guests we can get on, the more episodes we can make, the more that Barn Talks just keeps on keeping on. So that's all that we ask. If you also want to support Barn Talk, you can leave a review on Spotify or Apple. Spotify is kicking the shit out of the Apple guys. I don't know what's going on, but Spotify is up to 2.5 thousand 5-star reviews. And Apple, we're, I think, at 1.2 thousand 5-star reviews. So blessed to have over 1,000 on both. But, I mean, Apple guys, what's
more reserved?
It's more reserved, but crowd. I feel like Spotify might be a bigger platform.
Or they might be.
Well, you know what I think it is?
Huh?
This is my theory. Spotify, all you got to do is just hit how many stars you rate the show. They don't ask you to say anything. Apple, they make you write a few words.
You got to put some thought into it.
You just got to put a little thought into it. But hell, guys, even an emoji, just a thumbs up would work. 5-star review and just put a thumbs up in that text bar. Submit it.
I'm trying to be thought-provoking.
The reason that's important, guys, is it gives our show mad credibility. If you look around the audio platforms for podcasts, there's really not like, you know, they have the charts, but to see how successful a show is, there's not like a subscriber count. It's just how many reviews you got, you know?
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I
now,
feel
there's a good question. I should submit that to myself.
Yeah, well, you just did.
Because I ask that every time we talk about it. I'm like, why isn't there...
They're so slow. For some reason, I feel like the audio platforms are so slow. Like, the world of podcasting has not adapted to like Apple Music or Spotify, where you can see what your friends are listening to. What pisses me off is I want to sort through a podcast and their most popular episodes.
Yeah.
Why don't they let you go to Spotify or Apple and sort through the most popular episodes on that podcast? It's all just chronological order. And it's like, well, shit, I want to know what the best one. I want to go to Rogan and be like, sort most viewed or streamed episode.
Yeah.
And go watch that.
You just got to go to YouTube.
Yeah, I know. But and you can go to YouTube and listen and watch Barn Talk there too. So we have that going. But all that being said, guys, value, share the show, leave a review on Spotify or Apple. Helps us out in tremendous ways. Last thing you can do to support the show is you could support our direct-to-consumer meat business that we started 11 months ago. We got Wagyu. We're going to have Black Angus beef on there very, very soon. We got pasture-raised chicken. We got pork that we raise here on our farm on there as well. You guys can save 10% off on your next order using code BARNTALK, and you'll have that for the whole entire time that we do this podcast till the end of time. Till Torque croaks over, you're going to have a 10% discount code.
Then quality really take off because you'll have Sawyer Jr. to step in to take over my spot.
Yeah.
And I hope he treats you as poorly as you treat me.
Yeah. Yep. He probably will. Yeah, so anyway, that's all you can do for us here at Barn Talk to help us out and get the word out and have the show grow. We're trying to get more and more high-level guests on here, but, you know, it can be kind of a challenge sometimes to get people to come to Southeast Iowa, but that ain't going to stop us. We're in it for the long run. We're in it for the long game, so thank you all to the longtime supporters. We're just getting started. We're just getting started. So that's my fucking spiel. I said fuck 4 times in the first 4 minutes. So
Gee, Merry Christmas. I gave you the speech about this being a family operation.
Well, we needed to get fired up. We needed to get fired up this morning. I was a little groggy because we did wake up at 6 a.m. to an Amber Alert that the sky's falling.
Tornado was on the ground.
Tornado's coming to destroy our whole farm. So I was up and at it and looking at the Weather Channel, looking outside. It's pitch black out there. Wasn't looking good. I had a rough year this year with tornadoes, and I feel like, man, these tornadoes are just. You remember there being this many tornadoes when you grew up?
I don't know. It comes and goes. Some years are worse than others.
Good Lord.
I feel like though, the severe weather band. I guess I don't know if I could say it's moved south or not, but we not good. We had the power went off at like 3:30 this morning, and in our house we have a whole bunch of these smart bulbs, these Philips Hue lights, which I love. They're great. You can set them on timers to come on. You can dim them. You can make them. You can turn them colors. We don't change the color much, but you can get them different brightness, dimness, whatever, and it's awesome. One problem with them though, if the power goes out and then comes back on, every one of them lights turns on. And so if you're laying in bed dead asleep and your lights in your bedroom are all Hue lights or smart bulbs, if the power going out doesn't wake you up, the power coming on will, because all the lights come on. And then, of course, when the power comes back on, they're run by Wi-Fi. So unless you get out of bed and go flip the switch, the router, it takes the router a little bit to boot up. So you're just laying there with the pillow over your head, waiting for the Wi-Fi to come on so you can turn the lights down.
You're a techie son of a bitch.
I love those bulbs. Some things are awesome. Sonos speakers and Hue bulbs. Love it.
Okay.
I should get a sponsorship out of that, but I don't. So anyway, that happened at 3:45, and then the rain started, and then I got up, and I came down, and I was just punching the button for the coffee, and my phone went off with the blaring Amber Alert, and then my wife came trotting down. She was headed right for the basement. She's a rule follower, so if there's a tornado warning, she's heading to the basement.
Dad's in his boxers with his balls swinging outside with the tornado going on, and Mom goes straight to the basement. That's how it goes.
Yep. So anyway, yeah, it was a good morning to have breakfast.
Yeah, I also want to say prayers to the people of Greenfield, Iowa, because they got smoked last week, or was it this week?
It was early this week, wasn't it?
I think it was early this week. Yeah, prayers to all those people. And actually, one of the farmers that is in partnership with us at Farmer Grade that provides all the Wagyu that we get. The Queck family out of Peru, Iowa. Unfortunately, the youngest son, Paul, his house got absolutely hammered, and they luckily all of them made it through and they all survived. But man, tough deal. It's a mess. It's not good over there. Thank God for all the people that are helping out and getting over there and cleaning stuff up. But prayers to all those people. Glad the Queck family's safe, and I'm glad majority of people made it out safe. But I think there were a few casualties. So prayers with those families.
The hospital in Greenfield got leveled, and so they were like they set up a makeshift emergency room at the Dollar General. So it's pretty extensive damage out there, so we don't need any of that. And so far today, I haven't heard of any.
No, there was not nearly as. They're going on to say that one was like one of the highest recorded tornado level. I don't know what F4, whatever the hell they do.
Yep.
The scale, it was an insane scale.
Yeah.
The pictures that if you look at pictures of Greenfield, Iowa, if you haven't checked it out, I'm sure it's everywhere and people have already seen it, but foundations ripped.
Yep, up out of the ground.
Off, I mean, completely just bare bones foundations left.
Yep.
For a lot of places. And car jacks freaking taken out of the bolts out of the ground, out of the concrete, just completely lifted out of the concrete. Yep. It's insane.
Yeah, it's nothing to mess with. When
no,
that,
it's like a luck of a draw too. Like tornado, you can't do shit about that besides just like, well, hunker down.
We had that. We had tornadoes come through our little town. I don't know. Has it been 15 years ago? Probably. I don't.
I was not. Was I alive?
Yeah, I think you were. I don't know, a long time ago. But I always make the. I always thought it was interesting because they went just south of our farm, came through the north edge of our hometown, and kind of came between our town and where our farm is. And my mother was in the basement, and she was not very mobile in her older age. She doesn't get around very well. And anyway, she went straight to the basement. There was a car that pulled over on the side of the road, and the people in it came to our house and wanted to know if they could go to the basement. And then a little bit later, as the storm was moving, some people drove past our house and then saw the tornado coming and got out and crawled into the culvert that went underneath the road south of our house. Meanwhile, while all this was going on, my dad is he's one of those guys. He's standing in the driveway of our house, just looking at it, yelling back at the house, I think it's going to be fine. I think it's going to go south of us. And he literally just watched the tornado come across the field and cut right south of our family farm. And it did go south and cut back to the north. So yeah, he was one of those people. I thought that was interesting. The different storms bring out the different mentality. So you have, the concerned people like my wife and like my mother that, they think they have an innate need for safety. So they're going to go right to the shelter. And then you have the people that are driving, maybe it's okay, maybe it isn't. Then the people that they're just like, it's a roll of the dice. So whether I'm in the basement or not, don't really matter. I'm going to stand out here and watch it. Just see.
That's you.
Yeah. So anyway,
like father, like son. Yeah, last thing I'll say about the Greenfield tornadoes, and if you want to help out in any way, I just wanted to throw this out there. Earlham Schools in that area has created a Venmo account to help out and support those families and help clean up all the mess that has occurred there. So if you want, you can Venmo at Earlham Social Committee. I'll say it again, Earlham Social Committee is where you can Venmo, and they're taking all those proceeds and donations to help all the families in the town rebuild and houses rebuild and get them new clothes and all that stuff. So,
yep. Yeah, and with everything that's going on, there's a whole bunch of people that are finding out, one, that their insurance isn't near as good as they thought it was going to be, or two, they're not insured for what they thought it was going to be, or three, they're insured and they're probably going to get fixed, and then their insurance company is promptly going to drop them.
Yeah. Well, last thing I'll say about tornadoes, we've been going long on this subject. The only thing that could potentially kill Barn Talk is if a fucking tornado took this barn away.
Yeah. Yeah.
We could rebuild it, but
never be the same.
It would never be the same because you just really can't build a barn like this.
No, you can't.
Today.
Nope. So that's right. So fingers
get your
crossed.
holy water. Knock on wood.
Yep.
And if anybody was wondering and watched last week's episode, yes, my fly was down last week in that episode. Everybody kept commenting about it. I took a piss before the show, and I came back up here, and I didn't realize it till we were about an hour in.
Nice.
I wasn't trying to give everybody a show or anything like that, but...
You did wear underwear that day.
I did have underwear. My package wasn't hanging out, but...
That's good.
That's a good step in the right direction. Could have been a lot worse. Could have just been an embarrassment.
Just add that to the list of future future personnel that we need to have.
Our checklist.
We need a personal stylist. We need help. We need
light
help.
person, and then just a person that comes up and just checks our zippers, grips our package, make sure it's in check, and then just
I don't know. You might have to pass
lifts our zippers up.
You might have to pass that by Cat.
Yeah,
on that deal.
Yeah.
Okay, well, good for you. I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Glad
hey, we need everybody.
Glad you got it all together.
We can get everybody here employed. There's a job for everyone.
That's good because AI. We'll get into that. AI may replace a lot of people. We might have to find some jobs. We might have to find some roles for some people. So, market update, and this was the close yesterday because I haven't gandered what the hot numbers are this morning, courtesy of Cat's Grain, Washington, Iowa. Corn $4.64. Local best price I could find local was $4.59. ADM and Cedar Rapids must need some corn because they're bidding $4.70 till the 27th of the month if you want to take your rig up there. Beans $12.39. This side of the river $12.28 at ADM in Burlington. Quincy, Illinois side $12.51. Bean meal $376 a ton. Wheat $7.
Woo!
There's a drought. There was a drought in. They think there might be a drought in Russia, but then they got some rain, but they don't know. I don't know. Wheat has rallied like freaking crazy, so $7.
I'm happy for the wheat guys.
Yep.
We don't grow any, but
don't grow any wheat here.
I'm just rooting them on.
Yep. Good for them. Hogs $94.52.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Sawyer's got kind of a different perspective on the hog market than he ever used to have because he starts getting nervous when it gets over $1. He starts getting nervous.
Yeah, when you're in the meat business, you got to buy livestock. It's a little different than when you're selling the livestock.
Yep.
So
that's right. He wants we custom feed hogs, so he wants the price good enough that everybody can stay in business, but he gets a little nervous when it gets high because he's running the math. He's got the numbers running in his head. He's like, what's that carcass going to cost? Feeder cattle $183. Feeder cattle $250. Milk $20.62. Oil $76.91. Bitcoin 68,000. I think it might be a little bit higher than that. It looked like it was rallying up a little bit, getting back close to that 70,000 price that we hit earlier this year. Ethereum 3,700. Tesla $173. I don't know. Do you think the Tesla board is going to approve Elon's salary package? And if they don't, do you think he'll just leave?
He'll leave.
I think he will too. I think he'll say, you know what? I'm taking my football and I'm going home.
Yep.
You build your own. Whatever the hell you're doing. I'm just going to go to SpaceX and spend all my time there. I don't know. I think they'll approve it though. Gold $23.32, silver $27.55. Beyond Meat $7.20.
Trash. Boo.
I just like bagging on them.
Boo. Boo. Turn into a super mutant if you eat that.
The head of the United Nations food security, blah, 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 came out and said that we need to radically modify the world's food system because
Fuck that
guy. Because meat,
bad.
Protein, meat based agriculture is killing the planet.
Let's just eat seed oils. Let's eat seed oils. Let's eat shit made from a factory.
Crickets.
Yep. Crickets.
Actually, I don't think so.
Seasoned crickets.
They're meat.
With red 40 on there.
I don't think he wants crickets either.
Oh, well.
Just all plants.
I can't live in his world. I'll die before I have to do that, so. I'll tell you, I'm not getting on that bandwagon.
I don't know. It just won't die. They just keep trying on that deal.
Yeah, and on the Tesla thing, I mean, they'd be stupid not to. Elon's his brand is so important to Tesla's brand. You'd be an idiot to not pay him what he wants to be paid.
The world's full of histories of idiots.
Well, especially big companies. They've made some mistakes here and there.
Yep.
Something that we didn't talk about, this is off topic, that we didn't talk about last week in our last Hot Topics, but Harrison Bucker from the Kansas City Chiefs kicker. I could be butchering his last name, but I'm pretty sure it's Bucker. Harrison
People know
Butker.
who you're talking about.
Yeah, kicker from Kansas City Chiefs, made a speech about women and
He
stuff.
didn't graduate. He gave a graduation speech.
Gave a graduation speech, right.
He did graduate at some point.
Yeah. Are you sure? Did he get his master's or something?
I don't know. He was given the they have these people in and they speak at the graduation.
But he had a whole gown. He had a whole ass gown on.
He didn't graduate. He was there.
I don't know. He might have got his master's or something.
Oh, I hope not.
Who knows? This just goes to show you how much we've looked into it. But just from the outside looking in, the reaction, I won't go into my thoughts on it, but just the reaction, his jersey has become the number one selling jersey for both men and women across the United States. So that just tells you where, I hate this fucking word, the silent majority lives, where we actually live and to breathe and because
what I really like about it is when everybody got wind of that and they started publishing clips of what he said, and everybody, the media all started spinning it, and people were just going after him, because his white privilege and misogyny and toxic masculinity and men as the oppressor and blah, 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 all that shit. They're just piling on. And the Chiefs came out and said that, his opinions are his and they don't represent the Chiefs. And then somebody looked at the sales on the website and went,
"Oh shit!
Wait, whoa, wait a minute." So then they prayed out one of the daughters of the family that owns
Hunt.
Yeah, and she comes out and says, it's his opinion and he's entitled to it, and she respected him for that. And then Andy Reid comes out.
Oh, his was good.
And
response.
Andy Reid's was great.
Yeah,
because he basically said,
the reporter asked him, pretty much oppressing women, what do you think about these comments? And he's like, well, it's his opinion. I come in here all the time and you guys have a lot of terrible opinions, but I let you in here still.
Yeah.
So,
right. Yeah, you have a lot of opinions I don't agree with, but I let you guys in here.
Yeah.
And then since that, the sales have taken off, and now that nobody's saying boo.
Yeah.
So that just shows you how strong people's
viewpoint on it is.
Their moral fiber, we're solidly gonna stand against him until he's an asset to the team. It's fine.
He's a damn good kicker. I mean, he's a clutch kicker. He's been doing a damn good job for the Kansas City Chiefs for a long time. But the thing I think it's so funny about it is it was a Catholic school.
Yep.
And he's a Catholic. He's standing by his beliefs. He was talking to a Catholic group of people.
Mm-hmm.
That was not meant for every person in America.
Right.
And their beliefs. That's not what that video was meant for, but they took it and ran it and they made it publicized.
Well, it doesn't fit the gruel that we're being fed. I mean, pretty much, when we talked about last week, we live in the upside down world. Okay, here's the thing. If you believe in a normal family, or if you believe in family and you are a Christian, you believe in God, and you put your moral compass, I guess, if you view that as important as far as being of a strong moral fiber, and you believe in absolutes, you believe in right and wrong, that is all stuff that's not popular in our culture because it's being attacked every single day. And so when he stood up there, when you're invited to give that speech, you're going to give your opinion, just like Jerry Seinfeld.
Well, that's what I respect him for, because nowadays everybody's vanilla as fuck.
Yeah.
We talked about this so many times. That's why we speak our mind on here. Being vanilla, people are sick of fucking vanilla.
Yeah.
People are tired of being vanilla. All these brands, all these companies, all these corporations, all these teams, all these organizations, everybody wants to tiptoe and walk on eggshells. Don't stir the feathers, don't stir the pot too much, and be vanilla. Vanilla's fucking boring.
Yeah.
Vanilla
and
is
people
boring.
don't respect that.
No, especially now.
People do not respect that. Now, there may be some people out there that they are so, I don't know what you want to call it, soft, or they have such a low tolerance for stress that that's what they want because they can't handle adversity.
Can't handle the hate.
Yeah, but the vast majority of people in this world, they just want to have a real conversation with somebody, and they want to know what people really think, and they value somebody that can tell you what they think, tell you what they believe, and why they believe that.
Yep.
And he's a perfect example.
It's why Joe Rogan's important and popular in culture.
100%.
It's why I like Scott Galloway. Do Scott Galloway and I probably agree on everything politically? No. But do I respect him as a man? Because why? He's real as fuck.
Yeah.
He's authentic as shit. He's going to tell you exactly how he feels, exactly how he thinks, and he's going to tell you why he thinks that. And he doesn't give a shit what you think.
Yeah.
I like that. I respect people that are like that. Harrison Butker, same thing. He's the most number one selling jersey in the NFL right now, both women and men. Because why? Because he spoke his damn mind.
Yeah.
And people respect that, obviously.
Yep.
I think it's more people respect that he just went up there, spoke his mind, freedom of speech, and just.
Yep.
But honestly, I bet he did not think that.
No.
His speech. I don't think he went up there with the intention that, I'm about to say some shit and
I'm gonna strap
it's about to
some
go
shit on
viral and I'm gonna just get this out everywhere. It just happened that way.
Yeah.
But you know what? Good for him to stand on what he think is right. I respect that. We need more people to stand up for what they believe and be vocal about it.
Yep. 100%.
So I like it. That's
All
what
right,
makes
well,
America great, baby.
Thanks for watching.
Yeah. So that was just all I wanted to throw out there because we just didn't get to it last week. So that was the only really hot topic in this Q&A. Nobody asked, but we just said, fuck it. This is our show. We're going to run it. We're going to start off with that banger. So
You needed to get something to get you a little
I
primed.
did.
You were a little
I did.
groggy.
I was.
Sorry, I ate a pound of bacon this morning. He
Yep.
was feeling he was getting kind of sleepy.
Yeah.
Now you're good to go.
Coffee and hot topic will get me fired up.
I should have brought more. I think
I know.
about burned through
I'm
all
gone.
this.
I'm gone too.
All right. Well, I don't know if we want to go in order. Well, just go in order. Somebody asked. Somebody just basically asked us our opinions. Well, they'd watched the Stephen McBee episode where they talked about a lot of the land that they farmed down there. They started using cover crops about 5 years ago, something like that.
I think so.
And they're really sold on them. And this guy asked what our opinion was of cover crops and if we knew what formula, what they were using as far as the mix for their cover crops, and we did not. We didn't get into that. And if they had any baseline analysis on that ground before they started and today. So we'll have to ask when we get one of them back on about it. But I can tell you that we farm in one of the probably one of the biggest cover crop counties in the state of Iowa. When the USDA came out and gave that grant money that you could get like $30 an acre for planting cover crops, most people planted cover crops. A pile of people did. And it's very popular around here. And really, it doesn't matter whether you are talking really flat ground or really rolling ground. A lot of people run cover crops. I would say probably more so on corn ground going to beans, maybe, than on people that are going to be planting corn on corn or bean ground going into corn. But there's a lot of guys that they do it 100%. And I like the idea of it. I have done it 1 year, and got along fine. My biggest issue with it was that at the time that I did cover crops, and it was just cereal rye is what we sowed, we were still conventional, I'd say minimum tillage. So I went out and tried to kill it by field cultivating. And it was a spring kind of like this, not as wet, but it had gotten pretty tall by the time I went in and started trying to turn it under or field cultivate it. And I had a hell of a time with it flowing through the field cultivator and didn't get a good kill on it. Had to come in and spray it. And I just didn't like the difficulty we had planting into that. I think if I would have killed it and no-tilled right into it, I would have probably gotten along a lot better. And if we were going to do it today, it would be a deal where we would just we would kill it. We would do a burn down on it and then just no-till into it rather than do tillage, because that doesn't work worth the crap for me. And this year, there's some guys around here that were planting into it green and then burning it down after the fact. In fact, Mitchell Hoare, I think, did that on some of his. Mm-hmm. And I don't know.
What about cost-wise?
Well,
because that's the biggest thing for a lot of people that I think look at it is, the nutrients and the diversification of the nutrients and what it does for your soil health and your micronutrients and all that. It's obviously a good thing to switch it up and add a little bit of diversity into your ground. I don't think people aren't sold on that. I think people believe that that's definitely the case, but it's just, can it pencil? Right. Can it cash flow? Does it add more to your input costs? Does it help reduce input costs? What's the payout?
Right.
You can't do shit for free, especially farming nowadays. So, or even at a loss. I mean,
right.
Especially a year like this year, everything's so high. Commodity markets are they getting better? Are they going to get worse? People are speculating. So it's just pencil. How does it pencil?
Yeah.
How's it cash flow?
Well, I think that face value, I think it's a $30 an acre deal. So if you've got a drill, or you can broadcast it. The year we did it, we just broadcast it with a fertilizer spreader, and we got along okay. But that's kind of iffy year to year. If you have a fall that's dry, and you don't get it out there early enough, sometimes you don't get a very good stand. So if you have a drill and you can do it, it's not as expensive as if you don't have one and you're going to pay somebody to do it. And then the other thing you got to look at, and we've talked about this before, is so if it's your dirt, you own it, and your timeline, your horizon is forever because you're not renting this ground and you're going to be farming it for the rest of your life, and hopefully your kids are. Well, then if you can get it to break even in the short term, the long-term benefits are definitely worth it. But if you're paying cash rent and you're on a 3-year lease or a 5-year lease, or you're a year-to-year lease, are you going to make that investment and then
might not even be able to get it? Yeah,
right.
For the long run.
All those things go into it. So it has its place for sure, and I think it just depends on your situation. It depends on your soil. There's places that you probably definitely want to do it for soil holding and for compaction issues and improving your soil structure. And then there's people that have really good dirt where it's more a deal of long-term organic matter buildup and what you're going to do to the soil long-term. Anyway, it's like everything in ag. There's a lot of ways to skin that cat, and
we're not opposed to it. We're not opposed to it.
If I had a drill, I'd probably do it. I probably would do it. I think for me, the main thing is you got to get it killed early, though. You do not. I don't know whether I'm game to plant into it and then burn it down afterwards. So if I'm gonna no-till into it, I would want to get out there and kill it early.
Or just get some cattle. Graze that shit.
Rotate that.
Rotate. Yep.
Look at you. Just what we need. We need one more thing to do. Yep,
I know.
Let's go to the sale barn today. Oh wait, we don't have a trailer. We'll stop at KDK. He's the Duralite dealer. We'll get ourselves a trailer and head to the sale barn as soon as we're done shooting this.
Yep, we'll saddle up. We'll go saddle up. All right, moving on. Opinion of the latest AI's ChatGPT 4.0 ECT. What the fuck is that?
No, so that was just one example. So they brought out version 4-0, which O means omnivore, which means that's just the meaning of that is that it takes in everything. Takes in video, audio. So if you're using it personally, if you're using it as a personal assistant, when it sits on your desktop, it just feeds off all your emails, all your
Search histories,
everything, and then it's there to help you. I hate to say this, and those of you that used to listen to Rush Limbaugh, one thing that he used to say on the intro to his show was he would say snarkily that he's providing the show prep for every other radio talk show out there, meaning that everything he talked about, he would talk about it first and then everybody else would copy it. And sometimes I feel that way when it comes to stuff like this, because one of the most, like my go-to podcast when it comes to technology and business as far as what's going on is All In Podcast. I just love that thing. The conversations they have on there, I mean, sometimes it's hard for me to keep up with my tiny little mind, but they do some dives on stuff that you can really learn a lot. Like I got to back up and re-listen to get it. But so they were just talking about the new chat GPT. Oh, GPT. Yeah, I think I try to make it like STP.
Yeah.
Anyway,
GPT.
Anyway, version 4.0 for omnivore. And I'm telling you, people, all I got to say is if you are working in a job where you are analyzing things, or you are organizing things, or you are giving opinions upon information that is given to you, Sawyer's usually the one that has the problem with this, but I'm just going to have to say, you're fucked, Rick, because you're going to get replaced. Because that kind of work, these AIs are just going to eat that up like it's not even a contest. When it comes to finding information, analyzing it, categorizing it, giving it to you in short amount of time, people are not going to do that. They can't compete. They can't do it. And I'll give you the example that they used on All In. They charged chat with writing a letter to a personality that they wanted to have at one of their the All In Summit that they're planning. And so they told the AI to write a letter to this person and invite them to be a speaker and to give this person some examples of where they had quoted them on their podcast in glowing terms, in positive terms, and give them several examples of that. It literally wrote that letter, and they read it in like 30 seconds. And it did not know who the hosts were of the podcast. It didn't have any of that information. They didn't give it to them. It just went out and found all that. And it found the episodes that they spoke about this person, and it had the context of what they said about that person, and that whole thing, they did it in 30 seconds. And they just said, okay, if you had one of their assistants do that, take them like 10 hours to do that. Did it in 30 seconds. This thing's a juggernaut.
I use AI almost every day. I mean, when you talk about writing up emails and proofing your work, proofing product descriptions, proofing YouTube descriptions. A lot of the photos that we use in the background of our thumbnails that we use on YouTube, that's all AI generated. Because one, I don't want to take somebody's picture from the internet and get a copyright strike and then try to make I'm going to sue your ass.
Take down your video.
Take down your video or take down your thumbnail because you use their picture. So I'm going to make original AI creative photos, and I don't have to worry about any of that. And you can make a prompt for whatever you think this episode's about to generate a photo for it. And I mean, it's just that photos right now, they're working on video, and they're getting video to the point where it's going to be just as easy to strike up a video with a prompt as it is a photo. And yeah, I think you're 100% right. When it comes to admin, when it comes to having your own assistant, when you talk about, like, if you're thinking about starting a business and looking at the competitive landscape of that industry, AI is going to be able to go out there and do an analysis for you in a minute.
Yep.
Or, doing research into another field inside that industry. Okay, we're thinking, well, for example, for me, let's just say we're thinking about getting into wholesale. How competitive is the wholesale business? What's the market share on that? Can we take, AI can go do that for you in like nothing.
Yeah.
I had just another example. I had a opportunity come to our plate at Farmer Grade that we may or may not explore. It's a bigger opportunity, but I wanted to make sure that I asked the right questions. And I came up with a few questions myself, a number of questions myself, wrote them out. But then I was like, I'm just going to ask AI, like, is there anything else? Explain the situation and ask, is there any other questions I should be asking here to make sure that my ass is covered, right? Mm-hmm. Spit me out like 15 other questions that were all really, really important questions. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That shit, that is it's so huge. It's so essential to just making your work better and making your work faster. And yeah, it's just awesome in that regard. And, we've talked about AI so many times on the podcast of, is it right to use AI? Is it not right to use AI? How long are we just going to continue to let society shove technology down our throat and just keep accepting it with not really thinking about the repercussions that it could have? And AI, everybody talks about how AI could be the death to humanity because it could just get so fucking smart that it realizes we don't need humans, right? And that's a scary thought, but if you do not get on the train of AI and use it, you're going to get left behind, especially in business. I mean,
yeah,
because your competitors are going to use it. Everybody around you is going to use it. And the competitive advantage that you have, the rate of, like you said, doing an analysis like that, why would you pay your assistant to do that for 15 hours, 2 days to do that, to run a whole competitive analysis on maybe going into a different industry when you could just have AI do it in 10 seconds in a minute? It's like night and day.
Well,
night and day.
And I'm not going to get off into the weeds on it, but another great example of where it's at versus where it's going is the example of if you're doing sales, and a lot of these companies, they're using, whether they're using Zoom call or Teams or whatever, but you get together and everybody's talking about sales and covering clients and generating leads and all that. So today, if you're using an AI or you're using there's some competitors out there now to Slack. A lot of these companies use Slack, and there's some competitors to that are using an AI in the background. And what's really interesting is you can go prompt that AI, and in the example of sales, and say, do we have any customers that we're missing, any customers that we haven't followed up with? That AI will go through and search through everybody's emails and texts and messages back and forth, and then spit out and say, yeah, here's a list of everybody that is either a potential customer or somebody that's done business with us within the last so many weeks that hasn't had any contact with. Okay, that's where it's at today, but we're very close. I mean, the speed at which it's learning and improving upon itself with these different platforms, it's going to get to the point where that AI is just sitting in the background and doesn't necessarily need to be prompted. In other words, if you are having one of these meetings and everybody's talking about sales, it will be analyzing in the background, and if it has something of interest, it very well will prompt in and say, I see that you're all discussing, fourth quarter sales. Here's a list of all of our customers that haven't been contacted, or this is the average order size, and these are the orders that maybe have backed off or whatever. It is going to learn what it needs to be looking for based on your
conversations
in your business, to where it literally is going to be
your Jarvis.
Yep.
Like Iron Man.
Yep.
Tony
so that's
Stark.
where, as I was listening to all this, I was just thinking, it's good to be the heat and air guy. It's good to be the welder. It's good to be the carpenter. It's good to be a lot of these things.
Good to be the farmer.
It's good to be the guy choring the pigs, because if you're the executive assistant, or you're the stock analyst, or you're anybody that is sifting through information, gathering information, interpreting information, basically moving information around, your days are numbered. I good, bad, and I'm not saying, to what you said, this is my advice. Don't stick your head in the sand and just say, AI is terrible and it's going to be the end of civilization and I don't want anything to do with it.
Well, yeah, you can't do shit about that.
You can't do anything about it. So you better at least mess with it enough that you understand it.
Gary Vee always talked, he always talked about in social media. People say, I don't want to get on social media. I don't want to use social media. Businesses don't want to use it and make content for their brand. And he'd be like, well, you're going to miss the greatest opportunity of marketing that's ever existed.
Yeah.
And he's like, AI is coming up. People are starting to ask him questions about AI. And he was just like, people are talking about how many people are going to get displaced. And that very well might be true. And people are talking about how they don't want to learn it, but it's a necessary evil. It's a new thing that's coming into the world that's going to impact the world in every industry in a massive way. And you better understand it, or understand it a little bit or enough to adapt with it. Yep. And he was talking about how, yes, jobs will go away and shit like that, but prompt, there's going to be jobs open up where your whole job and sole focus is to make sure that AI is creating prompts. You're creating prompts for that AI, the better run your business, whatever, right? But it might get to the point where you don't even need to do prompts. Who knows? But there's going to be jobs created because of AI, but there are going to be a lot of jobs that are lost because of AI. And that's unfortunate. But last thing I'll say about that, and we've talked about it on the show before too, with AI, I think there is going to be a little bit of what you said about it's good to be the HVAC guy, it's good to be the welder, it's good to be all that stuff. Yeah. And robotics has a long way to go, but in my lifetime, who knows? Robotics could get to the point where when I'm your age or older, or it could be even quicker than that.
Could be quicker.
If they take the brain of an AI and put it into a robot and it can move like a human, it could replace you too. Unfortunately. And I think when everybody started first talking about AI, that's the first thing they thought about. Oh, all the plumbers, all the HVAC guys, all the blue collar jobs are going away. It's actually been the opposite.
Yeah.
It started with the creative jobs. Now it's getting into data analytical stuff, and it's kind of moving that way. rather than starting with the robotics. But if robotics gets there, it could displace a lot of people. But
You see, go ahead.
Okay, last thing I'll say is there is going to be a moment, I think, in culture, and businesses are going to add this to their value, that they're a 100% human workforce, or this is a 100% human-made product, or we're a human-first business. We put humans first. And I think that is something that you're going to see more and more of in the future. As companies, there's going to be companies that take this shit on full board, adopt every goddamn new AI technology that there is, and they are going to displace everybody that they can in their work to minimize spend and overhead and make more money, right? But you're going to see that that's going to piss people off. Yep. That's going to piss American people off. Some people aren't going to like that. And you're going to see the opposite, where maybe they adopt AI. Some companies adopt AI a little bit, but they're a people-first business. Mm-hmm. And the example I immediately go to is First Form, Andy Frisella. First Form, what they're doing, they have their own warehouse, they have their own fulfillment center, and every once in a while, you'll catch Andy shooting an Instagram story of him just going around the warehouse, of how big and massive it is, and all these people running around. And his caption always is, real American people packing every single one of these orders, being employed in St. Louis, Missouri.
Yep.
And that is
powerful.
People value that. And as this movement continues to go that way, that real American human people putting the time and energy into your products, that's going to have value.
Yeah, it will, 100%.
But you got to walk that line of adopting it enough, but not adopting it too much. I don't know. It's going to be a weird way. It's going to play out in a weird way. But anyway,
I have 2 points to end with. One of them is another really interesting viewpoint that I heard on this is a lot of people think that their knee-jerk reaction is that big companies, big businesses are going to employ this AI, and they're just going to be like, they're going to be the ones to use it to their full potential. And the interesting point that I heard yesterday was that actually AI may end up being like one of the biggest disruptors, because big companies are going to be no match for somebody that is very efficient and deploys AI very well. So I'll use Slack as an example. Slack's been out for like 10 years, and a lot of people use it, but a lot of people aren't happy with it 100%. So now then you've got these startups that are way more efficient, and because they're using that AI in the background, it didn't pay for Slack to be first, because they're going to get demolished by these startups. And their point was that any big company that's in about any industry, tech especially, the moats are going away, because people that can deploy this AI and have the right ideas and have a better way of doing something, instead of them going out and needing to get,
millions
$50 million or even $5 million. Now then they need like $500,000, because they don't need near as much money, because the AI, they're using that more efficiently. So it's crazy. The other thing I'll say is, if you ever search this out. So you're talking about the robots. Have you seen that clip of Rangelstar talking about Boston Dynamics? And
I just know he talked about what bullets he's
he's talking. He says he's like, save all your webbed fencing, because all you need to do when they make these robots into killing machines, he says, just throw a roll of webbed fencing on them. Watch them get through that. Won't happen. You know what I mean? Because they'll get caught in it.
Yeah.
And I just like, sits around and thinks up shit like that? Well, he does.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah, he's good to follow in that regard. People
That and then paint gun in their
vision.
cameras so they can't see anything. Keep good oil-based paint around and wove wire fence. That's what you need.
Okay.
So,
well,
he's ready for it.
We'll cross that bridge when we get there, I guess. Shit. Where do you want to go from here? I
think we talked about future-proof careers. Crop update, I guess. We're kind of jumping around. Somebody asked about the crop update here in Southeast Iowa. Well, we just got piss pounded this morning, so if your corn and your beans aren't up, when this is done, they should be, because the ground is soft right now, but when it dries out, it's going to be a pretty good crust on it. So hopefully everybody's crop has emerged here in the state of Iowa that's got it planted. And if you don't have it planted, you're probably thinking pretty hard about what varieties you're going to be, how far you're going to go before you're switching if you've got corn left to plant. But I don't think there's very much corn left to get planted, at least around us. I think, guys, we made a big dent in it last week. People ran hard. But all our corn is up, and I'm actually going to go across the road and see where beans are. And there's already some guys, those guys that got in early and their corn has been up, they're outside dressing. So I saw a few anhydrous tanks rolling by yesterday, and I've actually seen some people out that are side dressing liquid. So we're off and running. And the only thing I'll say about, I guess, the future of the crop is we have kind of put ourselves in a spot now that it better keep raining, because this crop is definitely not going to have to root down to get water. So if we get dry late, it's going to hurt a whole lot more than it has in past years where we've been dry pretty much the whole season to where the corn really, really rooted down. And this year it's not going to have to. The roots are just going to go straight out. So
it's a good crop update.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
Deep, insightful.
If you were to build a hog barn today, what would you change or do differently? I have a lot of thoughts on this, especially when we've got into the whole direct-to-consumer meat space, and especially the amount of people that comment on our videos from us posting content and noticing and seeing what people comment, what they say, what they want, what they wish that we did or didn't do. And, some of that shit that people say, they just hate you no matter what you do as a hog producer. They hate you because you raise animals and produce pork. They'll never be satisfied with however you do it. But there are people that have brought up some interesting ideas. And, there's a really cool Canadian farm up in Canada. 3Gen Organics is what their name is. And they're an independent hog producer. I think they have 140 sows. 180 sows, fair to finish. And their model of what they've done to separate themselves from the way that conventional pork is raised. They still raise pigs in a hog barn, but they've really changed things up to accommodate to appeal to the American consumer or Canadian consumer. And I look at those guys and I think they are pioneering big time in how they've built out their buildings. And it's really got me intrigued. They allow their pigs outdoor access. They have hay out there. They still have a slatted barn inside. But, just being honest, the biggest thing that we see from people that watch us is they always say, do the pigs go outside? Do the pigs go outside? The pigs get sunlight. It's like they get sunlight, curtains and all that. But, outdoor access is one of those things that, when you're selling a product of your own and the consumer sees value in that and you're not selling a commodity anymore, it makes you start thinking about that kind of stuff because you're selling to the consumer, right? Like what they say, what they think, how they perceive your farm, that matters. So, there's a number of things that I think about that we could do on our barns if we ever went independent that I think could make our product even more valuable. genetics being one, being able to control the genetics how we see fit, their diet, outdoor access, more pen space per pig, because when you're selling pork direct to consumer and getting a better price, not being a price taker, but setting your price, you probably don't have to raise as many pigs per pig space as you do right now. All those things play into how I see hog barns could be built in the future. But when it comes to the system and growing commodity pork, I mean, there's not going to be a lot of change there, I don't believe, unless we can start separating manure and make that a massive scalability thing, because that could do a lot for the industry. But design-wise, if the manure separation things takes off, you could get more shallow pits, because there's no need to have a deep pit anymore, because you're going to be separating manure in real time. But outside of that, I don't see much change in there. But seeing those guys out of Canada really gets my wheels turning when you're trying to raise your own pork. So I think they are pioneering that shit for sure.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of shit to think about there. And I keep sending Dad videos saying, hey, watch this, watch this.
Well, I'm a little more pragmatic than that, because, I mean, if we can get to the point that we can take our regular sheds and convert them we can Jerry Jones them. We'll just make the roof that retracts.
Have a fucking TVs hang down.
Well, we don't need TVs. We'll just roll that roof off and then roll it back on. But if I was building today, so my oldest barn's going to be 14 years old this fall. So anywhere from 14 years old to 3 years old. Is that right?
Mine, it's 3 years probably. Yeah. 3 or 4.
First thing is I would definitely build the solid-sided barns like what we have.
I would say put windows in them, though.
Yes.
I wish we would have put windows in them.
Yeah. I'd like it, and for what it costs, I don't know why we didn't put windows in it.
We're going to put windows in.
We just didn't think about it, because we'll probably end up going back and doing that anyway. But the other thing that I would do different is, if I was building it today, I wouldn't put any pit fans on them. I would not put any pit fans on them, because I just don't think that you get the value out of it, because you can't pull air worth of crap through the pit anyway. And most of these pit fans, the performance on them is so bad. And then by the time you figure that the blades are dirty, and here's the other thing that just annoys the crap out of me is the shutters. If you go up to all my barns, you go through a winter where you have ice, you seem to always have shutters you have to replace, either individual blades or, depending on the model of fan, you have to replace the whole shutter, because if you get a blade that breaks, now then your fan, if it's not running, you're just drawing air in right there, which is hurting the amount of air you're drawing out of your inlets, because every place that's a leak is air coming in that's not coming from where you want it to. And I would just eliminate them, because the frac drive fans, frequency drive fans they have today, you could probably put one wall fan in, 52-inch wall fan, and you can vary that. You can slow that fan down all the way down to where it's not moving any more air than your first stage pit fans, and basically replace all those pit fans with one big fan, eliminate all those shutters, eliminate all those places for air to leak, and really be able to direct your air better. And it's just a cleaner install. That is one thing I would do. And the other thing I would do, like Sawyer said, I would build a bigger barn, just because I feel like at some point we keep taking these pigs bigger, and I think at some point the square footage is going to get... They're going to go to a bigger square footage as they make these pigs bigger. And if I was to do it over again, I would probably build just my footprint a little bigger for the size. And if you're building new, for what it costs, build a workroom bigger than you think it needs to be, because we've got 4 barns, and the barn that we built last, Sawyer's barn, that workroom is the best one, and it's big enough that you can have a shower in there, and if you're waiting on a truck, there's room for people to sit. You got room to wash your clothes. If you need to work on something, you can bring it in the workroom.
Cistern's nice. Water pressure.
Yep, having a cistern, having a standby generator.
Got to have a generator. One thing I will say, the difference between Dad and I's solid-sided barns. So my curtain side sits on the west side where the sun comes up, or where it shines, right?
Where the sun goes down.
Where the sun goes down. I don't know. For whatever reason, my barn's brighter than your barn.
Yes, it is.
And I think the reason it is because where my fans are, your curtain is.
Yeah. My tunnel curtain faces
flipped.
east, your tunnel curtain faces west, and your barn is brighter than mine.
Yes. So keep that in mind.
Same number of lights in both.
Curtains, where you set your curtain on that solid-sided barn matters when you're talking about getting light exposure in there. And I don't know, we've thought about maybe it's the lights that you're using versus the lights that I'm using. I don't know, but I wish that barn was a little bit brighter.
Yeah, I do too.
So keep that in mind when you're building if you're building a solid-sided barn.
Oh, and that's something else. These builders don't count on the builder, because I shouldn't say that. I mean, I was a builder for a long time, but the shit that these guys come up with, like when you're thinking about lights, when you go through a bid, compare the total number of lights, and there's a lot of builders that'll go 16 foot on center on their rows of lights. Like they'll have 3 rows of lights or 4 rows of lights in a double wide, 50 wide room, but count the total number of lights, because if they're 16 feet apart, that's not near enough light. You need to have, if I was doing it again, I'd put 4 rows of lights in a 50-foot wide room, and I'd probably have them, if I went 4 rows, I probably would go, I don't know if I'd go 12 foot on center or not, but for what it costs, and with LED lights, you don't have to worry about overloading the breaker because the amp draws nothing. You can't have too many lights.
There's a lot there. A lot of ways to do it.
Yep.
A lot of ways to skin that cat.
Yes, that's right.
That's a Torque quote.
Yep.
I say we do our last one here.
All right.
Been going for a while. Should we end with a deep thought one?
Sure.
What's the biggest challenge you face in your life so far? Fucking raising me.
You.
Yep. I knew that was coming.
No, I would say you know what? There's a lot of things I could say. Going through the 90s raising pigs, that was the biggest challenge. Starting a family, big challenge. But honestly, I think I'm living through the most challenging time in my life. And I guess you could say maybe I hope that it'll always be that way, because I feel like navigating where we go from where we are right now to whenever it ends for me, but for generations to come in my family. If legacy is important to you, and to, if you're on a family farm, like navigating how you're going to make that viable for another generation. There are so many opportunities, but there are so many challenges, and nobody's magic 8-ball is very good. And there's a lot of days that I feel like, I feel like, I think everybody feels this way, but I thought my dad, like, he always seemed very wise, and, he just knew what to do. And now that I'm his age, when I was Tiny. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. If he had it all together, I'm really failing. But I don't think he did. I think he did just a damn good job. I think he just put his head down and did what he thought was best. And that may be what or what I have to do. But trying to decide what the path forward, I think, is the biggest challenge.
Thanks for taking mine.
Oh, sorry.
I don't care. It's fine. No, I would say I would agree with what Dad's saying. I mean, I'm young. I'm 24, so I really haven't had a lot of life experience. I mean, I think a hard time for me in my life was when I graduated high school right away and went right into the workforce. That was a challenging time for me, just in the fact that all my friends left. I didn't feel like a lot of people believed in me and what I was trying to do. They counted me out, and I felt kind of like an outsider a little bit. And I kind of had to find my way on what I wanted to do, what I wanted to become, what kind of man was I going to become, what was I going to try to build or strive for, and just kind of shaping who I was becoming as a young person, a young man. And that was challenging because, you're young. I don't think that gets talked about enough. When you're young and you go from being a social high school person and having all this stuff to do to immediately jumping into the workforce, and most of the people that leave, it's not like it used to be. And it's kind of a little bit of a culture shock, a little bit, in the fact that it's like 100 to nothing really quick. And it's just you, and you got to kind of figure out and pioneer your own way. And that can make or break you as a young person. That you can either sit there and say, okay, well, this is reality. What the fuck am I going to do about it? What are we going to do? Where do we go from here? I got to do something. Or you don't do anything and you just kind of just let it hang over your head, I guess. So that was definitely a challenging time for me, but I would definitely agree with Dad. We're trying to do a lot right now. And some days it really just feels like, honest to God, that all we do is work. I mean, no bullshit. I'm not trying to toot our own horn, but legitimately it's not a day off, and most farmers are that way. But, it's just a lot sometimes, and it's very challenging, and it feels like all I do is work, and all you do is work, and it's kind of what's required right now. But I think that it's what we got to do if we want to keep this thing going, and we're going to get through it, and we're going to be able to get there. But it is challenging some days. It is challenging. And it's not easy. And I think what Dad said about just navigating the vision is also a challenge in itself, outside of what the work requires, or what it requires work-wise. Just navigating where we're going, how we're doing it. Is this the right path forward? Those are all questions that pop up into my mind and Dad's mind. So, but life is fun, striving for something and having a challenge. It's hard some days. It's frustrating some days. It's hard to get up out of bed some days and want to have that fire and passion every single day. But most days it does feel like we're on to something, and it does light our fire. So, if we didn't have this challenge in front of us, who knows how purposeful we'd feel. That's what I'm most grateful for, is just having a purpose, having something to strive for, having something to drive towards, having a challenge to face every day. That's probably the hardest challenge that I'm facing right now. But building farmer grade definitely has been a challenge for me, and it has grown me tremendously from when I started it 11 months ago. And getting it even started had its own set of challenges. So that's definitely challenging, but also navigating all the other stuff that we're doing on top of it is challenging as well. So, but in order to grow as a person, you got to go through shit. So we're going to keep running through the shit.
Pound the stone.
Pound the stone. Yep.
My worst day of working for myself is better than most every day was working for somebody else. There were some days working for other people that were pretty damn good, though. But
Yeah.
as a whole, doing our own thing is way better.
Yep, I would agree.
One more thing I always forget because I never think through when these podcasts are going to come out. Sawyer and I will be in Des Moines, Iowa, June 5th, 6th, or 6th, 7th?
I think it's 4th, 5th, 6th.
5th, 6th.
Okay.
Wednesday, Thursday. Des Moines, Iowa, World Pork Expo. If you're not a pork producer, it's probably worth going just for the barbecue. And there are so many hospitality tents down there. And here's my word of advice to anybody. If you're walking down there and there's a hospitality tent, if you just walk in and act like you belong there, nobody's going to say anything to you. Just go have some barbecue because they all made too much anyway. But we will be there. We're going to be doing some stuff with the National Pork Board. We'll probably stop in and see our friends at AP. We'll probably be in AP's part off and on. We'll stop at the PSI booth. We might even be down we might even go down to Barn Tools, see how they're getting along without us. We'll be floating around. Just look for the really tall guy that's got like the little toady following him around, and that'll be me.
Yep.
So if you're there, say hi.
Stop by and say hi. Don't be afraid to chat with us. I feel like everybody likes chatting to Torque, but nobody likes chatting to me.
Well, you're an intimidating son of a bitch.
I guess. I don't know. I always ask people, do I got a resting bitch face? Because I feel like sometimes I do.
Well, you kind of got a face only a mother could love.
Thanks, Dad. I know where you stand.
I'm just kidding.
Okay, well, I think that's going to wrap it up, guys. We appreciate all your questions. Please, please, please submit some more questions, guys. We were a little dry on this last one trying to come up with an episode. So please send us your questions. It can literally be about anything you want to know. Anything. So submit those questions. Email them to us at barntalkshow@gmail.com. Leave a review on Spotify or Apple. Share the show if you got any value from it. Go to Farmer Grade, save 10% off on your next order, and we'll see you guys back here next week for another episode.